Hello friends, welcome to bisbtrainings.com. My name is Amit and today I'm going to show you a very simple example of writing calculation in calculation manager. This calculation we are writing for HFM financial management and here we are calculating sale tax which is 5% of sales. This is first exercise, so I'm going to make you comfortable and familiar with the calculation manager interface, and gradually we'll write more complex calculation like calculating balance sheet, cash flow statement, equity pickup. So let's get started with sale tax. So the expression is very simple. I'm going to start calculating sale tax which is based on sales. 5% of sales is my sale tax. So on the left side you see the destination, on the right side you see the source. So let's get started. I'm going to write this calculation under calculation manager. Okay. So in order to write this calculation, the first step I need to ensure that the member I'm referring for calculation, are they exist in my metadata or they exist in my outline or not. So what I do, I'll just connect to my outline and check my account dimension, and under gross margin I see I put sales third party, could be my source. Because I don't have a sale tax, I'm going to add new member over here, sale tax, for the sake of testing. And I need to define all required properties including parent name, and I'll define the intersection of account dimension with custom dimension as a valid intersection. So in custom 1, custom 2, custom 3 top members, and the output of sale tax, the sale tax is to be, it's not to be input by user. The value of sale tax comes as part of expression. Therefore write is calculate equals to true and is consolidate equals to true. I make this changes, then I'm going to save this. You modify this metadata, and then because I got new metadata, I supposed to load this metadata into my application. So open your application. Now under load section you find application element. Open this as it is already open in my case. Browse your newly created metadata. This is the one which I just now created, and upload this. I'm going to load this metadata by clearing the existing element. Though I'm going to lose general entries, it's okay. For the sake of testing, I can skip this part. Click on load section. Load is done. You can look at the log file for any potential error. I browse the log file and I don't see any error so far. Right? All members get loaded successfully. Once member got loaded, I can switch to my calculation manager and write the calculation. Our calculation is fairly simple. So I open my calculation manager here. So I started the calculation manager. It takes few more seconds to open. When you open it first time, it takes some time to open. Well, so my calculation manager got open. I can expand this consolidation part. And because our calculation is fairly simple and I want it to be a part of my predefined procedure called calculate, there are multiple ways of writing it. I'm going to show you this first simple approach. First step, create a formula. The formula is going to be simple. I name it as calculate sale tax. This is going to be a consolidation type. However, I could choose select as planning and space as well. If an application, I got so far only one HFM application, and calculation type is calculate. So when you right click on data form, this procedure gets invoked. On the left side I have got target. So I define target is my sale tax of my account dimension member. Select account and define sale tax, which I recently added into my metadata. So I got sale tax. A source is going to be my sales. Select member on the right side. We could have selected the variable and function as well, account, and I select sales. Sales third party. Because I want it to be 5%, so I multiply by 0.05. That's it. You can add a comment over here. Sale tax is 5% of sales. Save and scan it. You can click on the save scan option together. Scan will check any syntactical error. There is no syntactical error. Once again, the formula gets created. I can refresh and test it. This formula I'm going to add under my rule section. To create a new rule, I would call this rule calculate sale tax. And under this rule, I'm going to drag and drop between begin and end this formula, predefined formula, calculate sale tax. In between this, save this, save and validate. So you find seems to be no syntactical error. This is perfectly good. After validate, I create a rule set. Rule set is not mandatory but recommended in case you want all rules to be executed in certain order. The good idea is just to create a rule set. Under rule set, create new, and I call this sequence calc. So the sequence going to be followed in order to perform calculation. Right, so I simply drag and drop my rule over here. So far I got one rule. So just drag and drop. That's it. Save and validate. No error. Next step, we need to validate and deploy. Okay. Validate and deploy. So in a system view, you can right click and validate your members. All members you can right click and validate. Or we can also move to right click and validate. We can go to deployment view and validate over there. From system view, switch to deployment view, because the next step after creating rule is to deploy, and finally it is ready for test. So got two folder, deployed and to be deployed. Because my rule hasn't got deployed, it will be under to be deployed. Select your sequence number, right click and validate. Validation pass with no error. I can proceed further, and now I'm going to deploy this. Right click and deploy your view. Deploy your sequence. Sequence got deployed, and I could see this under my deployed section. Now last step is to test it. I'll give user input in my sales and my sale text to be calculated automatically. Okay. So in order to test it, I already created one document. You can create data form or data grid. Because I made changes to my application, I need to close my application, reopen it. Reopen your application, and under document section, you can create data form where you can perform this test. I made a data form already, right? So the name is test grid. Right click and open it, and I'll be giving input to my sales and my sale text to be calculated automatically. See, I give input to my sales third party, right back and right click and test calculate. So you see 5% of 1000 is 50. See, so the event is right click and calculate. Right, this way is a simple example how to write script in your calculation manager, how to write formula that add this formula into your rules and intern to rule set, finally validate, deploy and test it. So that's it for today. Thanks for joining today's session, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and browse our site.